I've been reading through the Gospel of Luke, and I came to Luke 10, where Jesus says, love God, love your neighbor. Those are the two greatest commandments of the old law. And the lawyer who started the conversation had a follow-up question. Well, who's my neighbor then? The text says he's trying to justify himself. You see, the lawyer knows that he's supposed to love his neighbor, but because God had not specifically spelled out who his neighbor was, he hadn't done it. And so he's just trying to justify his own inaction. And it's to that question that Jesus responds with this beautiful picture of compassion and love for our neighbor. There's a story about a Jewish man who was traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell amongst robbers who stripped him and beat him, and they just left him to die. And by chance, a priest and a little bit later, a Levite who were going down that road came about this beaten man, but they just passed by on the other side of the road. But then a Samaritan, a man who would have been hated by the Jews, comes along that road, and he sees him and he has compassion upon him. And he stops and he takes action to help this guy. Even though if the roles were reversed, the Jewish man along the road probably would have done what the priest and the Levite did to him, passed by on the other side. And it's a really remarkable story about compassion, and it ought to challenge us in our acts of compassion. And so let's do that. Let's think about some stories that will challenge our compassion. I want you to imagine that you're watching a movie and you're kind of following the story of this guy who's just comes down on his luck. Everything seems to be against him, and he gets to the point where he's on the side of the road and he's just begging for food. And you are emotionally invested in this man. And you're watching people who he's asking for food just pass on the other side, and they're trying to avoid eye contact with him, just trying not to see him. You'd be angry and frustrated. You'd be like, why won't these people help this man? This man's hurting and he's down on his luck. He can't help what's happened to him. Well, let's kind of reverse the roles. Let's imagine you're walking down the road and you see a man on the side of the road. He's begging for food. How are you going to respond to him? You see, I don't think our compassion measures up with the way that we would feel about the guy in the movie. Now, I want you to imagine that you have a friend who gets a job as a waitress, and you decide you're going to go support her first night. So you gather up a bunch of friends and you go to the restaurant. It takes forever to get a seat, and when you finally sit down, you order your food and drinks, but your drinks take forever, and when your food gets there, it's all wrong. You know, she's just messing up here or there. How are you going to respond? Well, she's your friend, and you love her. And so you're going to give her the benefit of the doubt. You know she's not doing it on purpose. This is her first night. And so you're going to leave her a big tip anyways, even though she's having a rough night. Now imagine you and your friends, just a regular night, and you're going to go to a restaurant and eat out. And you get there and it's packed, and the whole story is the same, except this time you don't know the waitress. What are you going to do? Are you going to get mad and call the manager over and complain, or you're going to give her the benefit of the doubt, and you're going to have compassion upon her? You see, sometimes I think our compassion is very shallow, even empty at times. We love our friends, we know we're supposed to love our enemies, but what about the people that's in between? The people who don't fit either category, the strangers. You know, I think that ought to challenge us, even the people that we meet online that we don't really know. And sometimes our compassion is very theoretical. You know, we have compassion for the guy in the movie, but when it comes to the real man sitting on the side of the road that's really hurting, not so much. Let's work on our compassion. Compassion means to suffer together. It's that which brings you to action to try to alleviate somebody's pain. And it's that which Jesus demonstrated so much in his life over and over and over again, something that we ought to want to reflect in our own lives.